Hello everyone, Storywolf here, and I'm going to show you how to make this paper bag art inspired by Little Nightmares 2. So here's what you're going to need to be able to create this project. What we're going to need here for this project is you need some kind of medium to draw on. I am using a paper bag. So there'll be the first step would be cutting the paper bag and also doing all of this and taking it apart and stuff like that to make it flat. So that'll be the first step. What you also need is you'll need a medium to work with, like a type of tool that you'll be using to draw with. I'm going to be using chalk of different kinds here. These are pastel chalks, as well as oil pastels right here too as well. I also have these charcoal white pencils to be able to help with bringing out the white in this. Since I'm not starting with a white medium, I'm starting with a brown one. I'm also going to be using these blender tools, which will be helping me to blend things together to make it look more smooth. This is a tool that actually is used for grinding these to make sure that they are sharp so that we can get a very fine point. You can also use this with pastels as well. However, you can use any other thing for this. You don't need that. You can also use a rag to be able to wipe it off on. You can use your hand. I prefer actually painting with my hands, but usually with a bigger canvas. So I will probably be using these more. If you're using the bag, if you're going to make the bag look like mono, you're going to need a scalpel to be able to cut the circles out of, or the eye holes out of it. You'll need a pair of scissors if you're using a bag like mine that isn't the right size to be able to cut it to the right size. And this is a kneaded eraser. If you're working with charcoal or chalk, you will need a kneaded eraser. These are very helpful. You can also use one of these as well, a regular eraser, if you're using a medium that you can erase with. And these are all just black charcoal. Thick black charcoal, which is like these here, but these ones are a lot darker and more softer, so they'll have kind of like more of a paint pastel like feel to them. You can use color pencils as well. Since you're using a paper, like just regular paper, you can use color pencils. You can use regular pencils. You could use just about anything else. So, also an X-Acto or cutting board. I have this special cutting board, but you can use a wood cutting board. You could use almost anything as long as it's thick enough for it to not be able to cut the thing that you're on. This is a special table that I have just for this. So there's that. Fair warning, it's going to be messy. You might want to wear some clothes that you don't care about. You can even do this on a piece of paper if you want to. The paper bag is just to make it look cooler. So I'm going to be using this monstrosity, which I love this thing. Sorry, you can't see it. So, no sponsorship or anything like that, but it's a cordless glue gun. I'm going to be using this just to put it back together once I take it apart. But, yeah, you can use anything else, like regular glue. That's a big hot glue gun. Yeah, it is. It's pretty decently sized. This is the only part that you use right here. Once it charges, it actually charges, and then you can just use it freehand. There's no cord. That's why I love this thing so much. But, so I'll be using that, but that's not gonna come until later. I'm gonna need to put it down somewhere. Probably right over here. But yeah, I'm gonna stick it right there. You don't have to use the hot glue gun. I just have that for me to use. You can use anything like... If you have it, you can even use one of these, which I have plenty of these too. A little school Elmer's glue, school glue stick, or you can use regular Elmer's glue, tacky glue. You could use any kind of glue, but I'm going to be using the hot glue gun because I'm crazy that way. I know that I'm going to try and take it as slow as I can because I know that my streaming setup is not the best. So basically what we're going to be doing is I'm basically going to be taking this bag, but you can use whatever you want. You can use like a piece of paper, you could use whatever, but I'm using a bag because I'm going to have the design on the bag, so when I open up, it's going to look like Mono's bag with the design on the front. So that's what I'm going to be doing. We're going to be doing a really cool design. We're not going to do exactly this, we're going to do a variation of this on there. So it's going to look fairly similar, but it's not going to look exactly like this. But this is the idea that I have for it, that we're going to be putting on the front of this this thing. Like I said, it's going to look a little bit different, but this is an iconic scene in the actual game. So I'm going to be doing a similar scene to this. This is the one picture that I could find of the scene that I wanted, but this is going to work. So I'm excited. But yeah, so I'm going to be using that as a reference. Basically, that's just stuff that I'm using. So no worries there. Alright, And I also have what I have here is a rag, since I am using charcoal and chalk. If I need to interact with my interface at all, I'm going to need to use this to wipe off the excess chalk off my hands. There's also an eraser rag that I brought. These are eraser rags. You can use a regular rag too as well. You just gotta be careful when you use a regular rag. But you can use an eraser rag to be able to wipe off the charcoal if you don't like something being put there. Alright, so now that we have all that settled, we can get started. So first thing I am going to do is I am going to very carefully open this bag and rip this corner. So that way I can get it to be flat. Because what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to take this bag apart and I'm going to put it back together. Because I don't want to cut holes in the bottom, and this thing in particular is super flat. So it's not going to give me any leeway to bend it with. So I'm going to have to take this bag apart. So that's what we're most likely going to be doing here. I got to find the end seam. Here it is. And I'm going to try and do this as carefully as I possibly can. Usually they have glue. If I mess up pretty bad on this, I could always use tape on the inside to fix it. I just need to go gentle with this. I just need to make it go flat. The back end of it isn't going to matter much anyway. So, hearing a little bit of that ripping sound, I apologize. As you can see, I'm ripping a hole in it now. I'm not trying to do that yet, but that's what's happening. I do have extra bags, so if anything messes up, I can grab an extra one if I have to. But it should be fine. This is also why I also got excuse me. This is why I also grabbed the hot glue gun, so that way I can glue this together more efficiently. I'm gonna try and actually move up here instead. This is also the first time I'm making something like this as well. So, not the first time using chalk. This is the first time I am actually trying to use a paper bag to make this. So, this is gonna be interesting. Very different medium. So let's see. I'm gonna try and peel this apart carefully. So that when I put it back together, it's not going to get messed up. Okay, come on. You can do this. Problem with these small paper bags is that they were glued together very, very tightly. So I just need to be able to rip this up enough gently. Obviously, staff, you won't be doing this step, so you don't have to worry about that too much. But I am, on the other hand, going to be very worried about it. I have ripped a hole in the top of that, apparently. That's okay. Nice and easy. Okay, so there's the seam there underneath. I could see it. Okay, there we go. I was about to start ripping my paper. No! Don't rip your paper. You're fine. You don't need to rip it. I need to rip mine. I need to rip my canvas in order to start painting mine. You don't need to rip yours. Yours is paper. Although folding it up to be a paper bag, however, that might be something that might have to look up. If you want to make yours a paper bag later. They might have a tutorial on that somewhere. I have not looked that up. Because I was starting with a paper bag, so I did not get the pleasure of looking that up. Here we go, and I gotta rip this corner here. I'm trying to do this as carefully as I can. I can always glue this back together. I do have, like I said before, that stick of glue that will probably work really well. I don't really need the hot glue gun for this part. The back end I will. This part, not so much. Okay, come on. Come on, you can do this. Nice and easy. I did kind of make a little bit of a mess of that, but that's okay. Okay, so now that bottom end is open. Make sure all these parts are opened up. Like so. I will have to refold this again later, which is going to suck a little bit, but that's going to be fine. And then there we are. That part's flat. It's a little bit ripped up, but that's okay. I could probably put it back together. Again, and it won't be noticeable at all. Now for the back side. So the back end is going to be fun. Let's see, where does it start? Right here. So I'm just going to peel it right off here. A lot easier from the bottom now. I've seen paper bag tutorials, yes. I'll see, there you go. So if you wanted to turn this into a mono bag later, you can. I'm also going to be cutting from the top. And make sure that I cut from the top of this bag. Okay, so now we have it open. And this is where it's going to be, because that's the top part, going to be the top part of the bag right here. Where the bottom is attached to. This is technically the top part of the bag. So what I need to do is I need to fold this like this. Not all the way, but like that. So I can see the size of where the mask is going to be. So, this is where I need... Well, that was quick. Yep. So now what I need to do is I need to look at that picture that I took of Mono's bag so I can see if it's the right size. Okay, it looks actually very close. It's actually pretty dang close, actually, to tell you the truth. That's pretty close. So, oh wait, no. This is where it opens up, right here. Okay. So yeah, no, it's not close. I thought it was, but it's not close, because this is where it's going to come in. Looks like it folds up there, which may pose as a little bit of an issue. I might be able to redo the top of it if I cut off the bottom half of this. Like I said, I'm still discovering this myself, so I might actually do that instead. Because it'll still leave this to be the right size. This is all messed up, so I'm going to try that. Yeah, I think I am going to try that, because then I could put it back together and fold it over, and it'll look just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece off first. Because this piece is already messed up, so it's fine. It'll make it the right size for me. You won't have to do this for yours if you're using a regular bag. If you're using a regular bag, by all means, do not cut the top off. So I'm going to take this piece off. Sometimes I work as I go, kind of like that. And now this is going to be the new front. So I'm going to make sure to cut the bottom part of this, because it looks like his bag doesn't have this bend in the front anyway. And it's still a little bit shorter. So I'm going to try and cut a little bit of that off as well. And it looks like it's uneven anyway. So it'll work out pretty well. So here we go. I'm going to just go ahead and cut this bottom piece off. There we go. And that gives us our medium to work with. But, okay, so now we have this all set up now. Now, the trick is we're not going to cut out the eyes yet, because the problem with cutting out the eyes right now is that we risk ripping it as we are working on it, so we're not going to do that. Instead, we are going to draw them out, which I'm going to use... I need to use something that isn't going to cause me too much trouble. I feel like I can use a pencil, which I failed to put in here. I did say pencil. I didn't say pencil, but I did put a pencil as one of the things on the information board that I posted. But I did not bring a pencil. There's always something. That's why I have a bag full of random utensils over here. So here we go. I got a pencil. Not my favorite kind of pencil to use, but this will work. And let's see. So I have... Let's see. Okay, so Mono's picture is very interesting. He has his eyes set very low. They're like about right here, of this far off of here. So it's about right here. And they're very low set, so they're like about right down here. Which is why I thought this would be a very, very good way how to do this. And I'm only going to draw one, because what I'm going to do is I will fold it over and then cut it through the bottom of it so that they're both even. So I'll only have one. You can call it an ingredient list. Yeah, pretty much. I did post an ingredient list, basically, but I totally, lost it. Well, I didn't lose it, but I totally forgot to bring the pencil. So the pencil will stay out here now. So... now we have this. Now the real trick here. So I already realized an issue. Not a bad issue, but I realized an issue. I said that I wasn't going to cut this out until after I drew the picture. The problem with that is I could still do that, but I would have to spray it down with the matte spray first, and then wait for it to dry, and then cut it. I don't have the patience for that today. So I will cut it. But what I recommend that you do is matte spray it, which I have matte spray right here. After you do the artwork, you matte spray it. Not sponsored. You can also use hairspray if you're using chalk medium. If you're using color pencils, you're fine. But if you're using a chalk medium, you're going to need to put matte spray or some kind of agent on it that's going to seal it in. Some people use hairspray as well if they can't get matte finish, but I have matte finish. So that way it keeps it from smearing or anything like that. But since I'm not going to do that right away after doing the artwork, I am going to go ahead and cut the eyes out now. So that's something, like I said before, I recommend you do after the project is finished, but I'm going to do it now because I believe that I can be careful enough to make sure that I don't nick the corners too much. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half a little bit. I'm not going to go all the way folding because we want it to not have a crease in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this. This is where people get nervous because I'm using a sharp item, but that's okay. I'm going to make sure I'm lined up. Brian, I see you. Fortunately, I'm using pencils. I don't have hairspray or matte spray. That's fine. If you're, yeah, you are in the clear. You are using pencils, so you're good. If you want, you could even start doing this step if you want. If you don't want to do this step, it's fine. So, that's up to you. You can even just draw the eyes on there. You don't have to cut them out. I am cutting them out because I like, you know, making things difficult on myself. So the reason why I got a scalpel is because scalpels are very good at cutting through things like this very easily. Taking it slow. Not gonna go crazy with it. Okay. Make sure I got it all. Make sure to watch my fingers. I am tensely focused on this right now, so anything that pops up in the chat, I'm not going to be able to see it for a second. I am intensely focused on not cutting my fingers. And then do this nice and gently with a little bit of pressure. It should come right off. And there we are. The 2 eye holes are out. Put those off to the side. We're not going to need those anymore. If you have garbage, you can just toss them in the trash. And there we are. We have Mono's eye holes. And they're both a perfect match. They worked perfectly. So we have Mono's little eye holes now. Also intensely focused on you not cutting your fingers. Yes. Yay, got it all done. Now I don't have to worry about that picture for now. Because I'm not going to add the details like the smudging and all that kind of stuff until after. So right now what we're going to do is I am going to go ahead and put that picture away for now. Bring back up my guide on my phone. There we go. Cool. You didn't harm yourself. Yeah, I did good. My Brian knows it's a big hooray whenever I actually don't cut myself or burn myself when I do these projects. So, all right. So now for the fun part. Now is where we actually get into it. Right now what I'm doing is if you have a kneaded eraser, if you are using chalk, you want to get your kneaded eraser ready. What you want to do is you want to knead it really good with your fingers, kind of like dough. Or like clay. Because you want it to be able to be malleable and to be able to move. You don't want it to be too rough. That's what you have this one for. So you want to make sure that you have it all kneaded like this. As you can see, I'm just kneading it. I keep forgetting that I have to get a little bit closer to the camera. I apologize. But just knead it around so that way it's malleable. You can move it. You can fold it over. Some people might tell you, don't do that yet. You might need it for a sharp corner. But the thing is, that's what this is for. I already have something hard. What I need is something soft. Is it edible like Play-Doh? No, it is not. Do not eat it. Do not eat your kneaded eraser. It is not edible. At all whatsoever. Okay. So, now that that's all kneaded, it's soft, so I can move it. This way I can like do this and get the very fine edges if I need to. Like that. So if there's like a fine spot that I can't reach, I could go like that very carefully so I don't smudge it. So it's all kneaded and ready to go. If you don't do that right away, it's difficult. That's a fresh one that I opened. So, okay. So now, here's where the fun stuff gets to. Yeah, sorry it's not edible like Play-Doh. Trust me, you don't want to eat it anyway. It's disgusting. So, I'm going to actually turn these around because they open this way, and it's going to be a pain in the butt for me later to have to deal with these if I don't open them that way. So here are all my colors that I have. I did say in the thing to have grays and browns and stuff. I did not have brown. I do have my grays. And I did notice that the picture itself actually has some blues. So I will be using some blues and purples. But you could still use grays and these colors as well. It'll still be fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look very carefully at this picture And I'm going to actually use my pencil again. Huzzah! And I'm going to use the pencil to guide me on what key pieces are going to be in here. I actually think I've tasted one before. You have? I have never put one in my mouth before. So, let me see. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and figure out, let's see, so I'm going to go ahead and just lightly do this. This is very lightly with the pencil, so I have guidelines. This is for the sidewalk, which comes out to about here in the rain. And then I want Mono to be right here. I want him to be right in the middle. Or maybe it smelled so much I tasted it. Probably. It could be possible. They can have a smell. Mine doesn't, but it can have a smell. So the key point is there's going to be some sight lines going all the way down here. This is where the ending point is on this picture. Way over here. Way at the top there. And then there's going to be the sidewalk coming down this way. And this way. I know you probably can't see it very well. I apologize. I am doing this very, very lightly. And I suggest you guys do this very lightly as well. Just follow where my hand is going. Because if you do it too hard, it's going to show up underneath the charcoal. And you don't want that. So you're going to have to make sure you got it very light. That's the line I want right there. And then I'm going to have, let's see, because he is going to be standing, I feel like I might have made that a bit too tall. So I think he's going to go right here. It's a little bit farther away in the picture, but I think he's going to go right here. This is where the kneaded eraser comes in. Nice and carefully. Just kind of lightly brush it. Kneaded erasers work for a lot of different mediums. They work for pencil. They can work for colored pencil sometimes, depending on the color pencil. And they can work with oil pastels as well as with charcoal, which we're going to be using. So, let me see. Now for the Thin Man, I'm just going to draw a guide of how tall he's going to be and where he's going to be at. So this is going to help me out with figuring out this nonsense. Just a light line. And then his head is going to be right here. He has a long skinny neck, and then he has this coming up here. The best part about charcoal is it's all about shapes. If you can draw with charcoal with shapes, then you're pretty much set. It's really not so much the actual drawing itself. It literally is picking out tiny shapes and figuring out how to go from there. So instead of drawing Mono kneeling here like he is in this picture, I am going to draw Mono right here with his bag still on, standing up and facing him. That's the idea that I had for this, was I was going to draw him kind of like this. Kind of like that. With his hands at the ready. Because there is one scene where he does stand up and he sees the Thin Man for the first time, and he still has his bag on. He hasn't taken it off yet. So, this is the scene that I'm trying to go for here. Where he's standing up against him for a second, or he looks up and he's like, oh, you're still here. Which I could very much relate to. That whole scenario where it's like, oh, the boss is still alive. Oh, great. I could definitely relate to Mono in that sense. And then, of course, the feet here, because his cloak is pretty long. Like I said, it's all about shapes, really. Really, it's all about shapes. So here we go. So I'm going to have his hand kind of poking out this way like that a bit. So that can work. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so the main points are done. Yeah, I remember that scene. See, good. So there's that, and then there's also the daunting, these guys in the background. So we're going to try and we're going to go ahead and we're going to show these in the distance, because these are the buildings that are being pulled in on either side. you could exaggerate it a bit more than what's shown in the actual, excuse me, in the actual game, because charcoal will get very messy and it'll get very blurry to a certain extent. So you do want to exaggerate a slight bit when you work with charcoal. If you're doing this with colored pencil, you could exaggerate it anyway if you want to. It doesn't matter, because exaggerating will make it kind of seem more alive. It'll seem more like it's moving. This, I kind of want it to look daunting. I want it to look like even the buildings are looking down at Mono. I want it to look like that's the most daunting part of it. 'Cause that's the sense that I got from it, is that you just felt so small after you've just dealt with so much. You just felt so small in a world that was just so big around you. And that was the whole point of it, is that, like, you're one kid in this massive world where everything's bigger than you, everything's scarier. So it was one of those things where just you felt so small compared to this entire nonsense. And then this is going to just keep going off into the distance, and then you have the tower in the background that's just looming way off in the distance right there. But it fades into the fog and the shadows. It is going to actually kind of fade off, so these areas are not going to show up. I'm going to erase those nice and easily. I do have an eraser on the end of this pencil. If you have one on the end of your pencil, you can use that as well. Just be very careful not to rip your bag, because it will rip your bag. Because I do want this to kind of fade off into the distance, because there is going to be still Mono's signature smudges that we're going to be putting on here too as well. Now, what will Little Nightmares 3 be? That's a good question. Hey, Toa, how's it going? It's been a bit. Good to see you. Good to see you, Toa. How are you? How are you? Good, I've been around. That's good. Yeah, that scene was a lot. Yeah, it was a lot. It was very, very heartfelt and very, it was scary. But yeah, so now we have what we need figured out on here. It's a little bit hard for you to see. I realize that. I apologize. I'm going to see if I can bring it closer so you can see kind of what I got going on here. Maybe? Does it show up? Not very well, but that's okay, because it's supposed to be light pencil anyway. But you can kind of see the buildings in... Hold on. Really hard to do this through the camera. You can see kind of the buildings at the top there. You could see Thin Man off in the distance. And you could see Mono right here standing off against the Thin Man. So that's what I have kind of sketched out lightly on here. It's very light. But, I don't know, and I noticed that. But it's at least helping with figuring that out. There is going to be the buildings coming up the sides here. Right here is going to be where the cement that meets that. Okay, just make sure I've got everything before I start. Okay, I think we've got enough to be able to give us the convey that we need. So, okay, so here we go. Now we've got to figure out where we start. So, usually typically in painting, you want to start from backwards to forward. So you want to start with whatever's in the background and bring it forward. However, this is a little bit different. Since we are doing this on a medium that probably can't handle that much on top of it, as well as dealing with not being able to spray this down in between segments. Even though I have this here, I have to spray this outside. And it takes a while to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start how I usually draw normally, which is very dangerous, but it's the only way to do this. Been cosplaying since we last crossed paths. Oh, really? That's cool. What were you cosplaying as? I am still kind of doing a tutorial, so don't mind me if I keep on rambling on with what I'm doing, but I will stop to be able to talk to you as well, Toa. But that's cool. What have you been cosplaying as? Pretty sure it's really neat. Tell me about it. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using some, looks like they have some very light blues, which I do not have. I do have this light blue. So I can use this light blue as well. That's for the background. And I do have, let's see, I have some dark purples and blues on my picture, which is going to be this right here. Dark purples and blues. And then I'm going to be using some, spray paint. That paint, the paint of that. Most the night from Hollow Knight. Oh, nice, cool. Yeah, no, this isn't spray paint. This here is matte finish. So this is what's used to seal a chalk drawing when it's ready to be finished. And also, like, what you use it for is if I was to do this, like, the background first, I would matte spray it, and then wait for it to dry, and then do the next layer, matte spray it, wait for it to dry, do the next layer, matte spray it, until it's all finished. But I hate doing that. It drives me nuts. So I'm not doing that. But most chalk artists will tell you, do that. But I won't be doing that. So that's the thing there. Also, you can use hairspray. If you don't have matte finish, you can use hairspray. It works just as well. I just have the matte spray because I do this a lot. Also, see, it's already getting low in my hands. It happens. So it's going to be a lot of blacks, a lot of darks, which I am going to actually break into the very dark charcoal. This stuff. I love this stuff. So I don't think I've even opened this case yet. I haven't. Okay, this is going to be fun. So this dark charcoal is some of the darkest charcoal you can get. There's another one that actually is a lot darker, but these ones here are incredibly dark. This is like pure charcoal. Got to be careful of this. So the reason why I got to be careful of that, because see, it gets everywhere. Everywhere. But I do love it. This is why I have this rag right here, because I can do this. This is a rag, by the way, so I don't plan on keeping this towel. So even if I get it all messy, it doesn't matter. See, it's still staining my fingers. I don't care. I'm going to be going to work with stained fingers. I'm good with that. So they will wash off eventually, especially if you use Dawn soap. It will wash off, so don't worry. But just be prepared. You might end up going to school or work with some charcoal on your fingers if you're using charcoal. Let's see. Got a new one for a con and one for Halloween, but the Halloween one is undersized for my head, but it might work. This is what I get for doing an outfit a month without planning. Yeah, I know the feeling all too well. I one time designed my own costume as well for Halloween, and it was a nightmare. I had a lot of problems with it. Basically, it all turned out at the end great, but trying to find all the parts for it was ridiculous. I made a wig that had lights inside of it, so I managed to weave that in there and get all that done, and it looks great, and it didn't get too hot for my head. It was perfect. And then I went to try to make the puppets, because there was a puppet that went along with it. It was a really cool arm puppet. But I got in way too deep. I almost didn't finish it on time. I finished it on time, but the feathers on it kept on falling off, so I had to keep on gluing them on. It was nuts. But everyone loved it. They thought it was a cool costume, so it was great. But I had to show you guys it one of these days, but excuse me, sorry. Hydrated. There we go. Much better. So I know how it feels to make your own costume. I know the heartache in it. I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. But so now I have a lot of these darks. See, this one is the darkest black that's in here, and it's not even close to this black. You can kind of tell the difference. It's really hard to tell, but you can tell the difference between this charcoal and then this black pastel. It's insane. Like, the difference is insane as far as how dark that is. I'm excited to use that. But yeah, so let's see. Now I need to get all my grays are right here. Okay, so I have everything that I need. Just want to make sure I've got it all in order. It's always good to keep your pastels in the order of darkness, because that way you can just grab and go from there, instead of having to wonder, okay, is this the light one? Wait, is this lighter than this one? If you don't put them in order, you're always going to keep guessing. Bad idea. So I always do lightest to darkest. Everybody has their own way of doing it, but I recommend doing lightest to darkest. There we go. Now, I also have pastels to work with, and I also have, for the lighter tones, white. So we have, this is our setup. So these are the colors that we're going to be using, and I also have the blender tool off in the corner. So we are good to go. Now, it's always scary part is doing the very first paint. So the very first stroke is always the scariest part. So what we're going to do is I'm trying to figure out where to start. I think I'm going to go ahead and work on the background. I keep wanting to say that I wanted to do the front part first, but it's so scary starting from back here. Okay. I think I am going to start working on the background, because I could always go over it with this black charcoal. The black charcoal is finite. It'll be basically like the final thing if I put it on there. So I'm going to try and see if I can do this background, which is a kind of a blue. You can use a substitute. You can use this gray. I think I actually will use this gray. So I'm going to use this gray instead of the blue, because that blue is a little bit too dark for my liking. So I'm going to kind of just brush it like this. Nice and easy. Now, if you're using a paper, this will stay very well. Since we're using a paper bag, it's going to bleed and it's going to run around a little bit. It's not quite made for this medium. But it is going to do something very well, and that is basically just blend very well. Because it has nothing to grip to. It's not gripping on, as I'm noticing as I'm painting on this. It's not gripping on at all. You can kind of barely see it from this video, which I apologize. Maybe I could try zooming in. If it'll let me. It's not letting me zoom in. Okay. So apparently it's not going to let me zoom in from there. Okay. So I guess I'm just stuck with this. In the other copy that I'm going to be doing, not copy, I mean in the YouTube video, I will be zooming in the YouTube video, so don't worry. You'll be able to see it a lot clearer from there. Let's see. So if you want to try this again later, you'll be able to do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and see if I can do the other colors in the background. I wished I had a lighter version of this, but there is a little trick to this. So there's this thing that came with this thing. So I have an idea. If I use this, if I mark this on here very lightly, and then if I take my gray and then mark that over it lightly, let's see what it does. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take this blending tool. See if I can grab the colors right off the sponge. Looks like it's coming up. And then I'm going to see if I can actually blend it. And it's not quite working as well as I hoped it would. But it is doing something. The blending tool is actually making this blend into the bag, which is great. So it's doing something that I didn't expect, which is fine. This was also an experiment for myself anyway, so I'm cool with this. So we're working on getting this background far more finite here. There we go. Okay, so now we have this highlight in the background here. Because that's where the rain is hitting the hardest and some of the lights were turned off. Just kind of pushing it around. So if you're using colored pencils, it's going to be a little bit different for you. You're just going to try and see if you can follow along, doing it as lightly as you possibly can to make it kind of fade in. Okay, now, next part is it's going to be, looks like a darker gray. So I'm going to be taking this darker gray and I'm going to be putting this, actually we'll go this next stage lighter. No, we need to be darker. That was a test that I did. Yeah, we need to be that dark. So we're going to go this dark into here, and it actually is the blue-gray that I need, so this is perfect. So I'm just doing it a little bit by bit, because this is going to fade into the background once I start pushing it around with this again. So I'm going to start pushing around with this again. Oh, that's the darker piece. Hold on. There we go. Start pushing it around with this. As you can see, some of the chalk isn't quite sticking to here. Which, like I said before, I expected that to happen, which is why I brought the blending tools for this. You can also use your finger, though you're using your finger is a little bit difficult. But you can use it. I wanted to show you that you can use your finger. It is something that is available to you. Now this is actually starting to get a little bit scary because some of the chalk is not going in. So what I'm going to do really quick is I'm going to just slightly tap or blow on it. There we go. To kind of do that. Now I got to make sure I'm not on the black spot here. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now we have that back area, which is this nice blue-ish gray going on in the background there. I don't have fingers. What do you mean you don't have fingers? You don't have fingers? It's okay. You can use whatever you have at your disposal for that too as well. You can even use this if you need to be able to push things around. There's ways to be able to do it, don't worry. I was not expecting that comment. I completely apologize. Oh, also, Toa, thank you for the follow. I just noticed that just now. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that didn't pop up for me. But thank you. I appreciate the follow, for sure. Let's see here. So, now we got that done. Now, I need to do the buildings. So having the buildings coming up, they are going to start... Looks like they're going from a light gray to a very dark bluish purple. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to start from this one, I think. Because I'm doing this out of order, like I said before, not to do. There we go. So this is going to show up and have a building coming up in the back here. Kind of off in the distance. And then this building is going to show up right after that. So here we go. Go ahead and do that. And it's going to fade into this. So we're going to make sure that's going to fade in. Just like that. And then I'm going to blend that as well to make sure it stays in and it sets into the scene very well. Just like that. There we go. And then we are going to, if you're doing with chalk, you're going to tap it again, go in a little bit, see if it's going to blend in. And right here we're having a little bit of a problem, but that's okay. I could easily do that. Using my finger to kind of blend it nice and easy. If you're using a color pencil, you could still blend it by going back over it with the same color, like I'm about to do here. Just kind of go back over it with some more of a lighter color. Kind of like that. And there we go. And then we are going to go ahead and see if we can make this blend up a bit more. So we got that. Now, moving on to the next building, which looks a bit darker. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next part, which was... I'm going to use this charcoal again. And this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to go lighter at the top. And then we're going to go darker here. And blend them together. Kind of like this, to make them meet in the middle. Or we're going in strokes. Because even though it doesn't really matter too much, it will eventually. So we're going to go in strokes out this way. Kind of like this. Also doing this for you pencil, ones who are working with colored pencils. If you go by strokes, it'll show more form. So if you go the same stroke as going on the outside, or going towards like how the building would be placed, it helps a little bit more. And then we're going to go ahead and tap that out. And don't worry if it doesn't look like there's too many details right now. There will be details later. Right now we are just working with trying to get it to make the forms that we need. We'll go back over it with details with the pencils to be able to make it a lot more popping out, like with this pencil here. So now what's next is it's going to need another darker building coming up, it looks like. Looks like it's going to need, I think I want to go for this one. I think I'm going to go ahead and go for the bluish purple. See what this does. And that's not too bad. But I'm going to also mix it in with the dark too as well. Kind of like that. Okay, now that I have that in there, I'm going to try and blend it around. I'm going to use the bigger blendy tool. You can use any size one if you have a blendy tool. Kind of push it around. Push the chalk around a bit. Have it blend together a bit more. Stroke it a bit. By stroking, I mean like actually making it, like doing the certain strokes. Might have to add more to this, it looks like. Because it looks like it's kind of pooling up here at the top. I have never worked with paper bag before when I've made this. This is my first time doing something like this in particular. So do bear with me if it seems a little bit off. So I'm going to go ahead and make this go this way. Like that. It is going to be blending off, like I said before. I will be putting other stuff on top of that anyway, so here we go. Just painting that down like that. Like I said, it's just going to be the form of it for now, and then we're going to be adding in darker elements as we go. Adding in the darker stuff. Now I just moved on to just using my hands instead of the tool. I actually love working my hands. This is why I love using charcoal so much. Because all you really need is just the form of it. You don't really need the extreme details. So there we go. That's kind of forming there as well. And as you can see, I have charcoal all over my hands now. Using this towel a little bit. I've already accepted that I might end up just getting it all over everything. That's fine. Looks like it's showing up pretty decently well on this picture. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side as well. If I can remember what order I did this in. So I did this one right here. Or maybe it's the darker one. That's the darker one. Excuse me, it's this one. Yep, there we go. I got the hiccups now all of a sudden. That figures. I also need to make this line up here. There we go. So that works that way. Like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and do this too as well. Like so. Just following my pencil marks. Like that. It's okay if I get charcoal all over my my X-Acto board. They're pretty easy to clean. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did with this side on that side with this building too. So I'm going to grab this blue, start from the top to go blue, and work my way down to this darker charcoal. I really need to get in the mood of actually putting that together like this, and then blend those around. Here we go. I do plan on trying to finish this project in one day, so I'm not going to try and stop and call it a night or anything like that. I'm going to try and do the same one. Now what I just did there, don't do that. Don't put your hand on the project as you are designing this, because you are going to make a mess. His mask is already grimy, which is why this is perfect to do this with, but it's very much not recommended that you put your hand there. See, I just smudged that out. So now I gotta put that back on again. That's what happens. It happens. So I put that back on. Much better. Now, there we go. Now, what I'm going to do, actually, is I'm going to go back over... Yeah, right? Smiles. Laughs. It's funny. So now, I'm going to take my gummy eraser and actually touch up some spots up here. See how nice that just lifts that right off? So I'm using the gummy eraser to kind of make these areas sharper. Because you can't do that when you blend it, but you can make it sharper afterwards. So I'm making these lines sharper. Eventually, this part over here is going to be where some of Mono's marks are going to be on. So that's fine there. So now I'm just kind of blending this tool in. Just a bit. Taking off some of this markings a bit. And then I'm going to do the same thing here, make this a little bit sharper. This is why gummy erasers work so well for this, but you can use a regular eraser if you want to. But gummy erasers are the most recommended for this reason. Because they just lift it right off the page. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so as you can see, it's starting to kind of come together. Now what I want to do is I want to add more white to this background here. So I'm going to use this and this. Kind of blend that around. Now here's where it gets tricky. My hands already have a lot of dark stuff all over them, so I'm going to try and use whatever I can to try to get them off. Usually I can use, like, stop and wash your hands. It's recommended. Usually what tends to happen when you use charcoal is that it gets with the oils on your skin, which is what helps them kind of blend a little bit. This is supposed to simulate the fog over the city. I'm just lightly blowing on it to kind of make it so I don't have to wipe my hands on it to get it to move. And there we go. And so far you can kind of see where it's coming together. You can see some of the buildings building over here and coming together. I do need to add another dark spot over here, because that's where the other side of the building is that we missed. So I'm just adding that in. Now I'm going to blend that together too. Keep my hands off that again. It's been a bit since I've done this, and I usually do this on a canvas. So doing this with hands down, well, like an easel, I mean. So doing this with your hand down is a little bit difficult, because it's very easy to accidentally smudge it, which is what you don't want. I actually said before that I wanted to try to blend this in, so I'm actually doing something I did not want to do right now, actually. But that's what the gummy eraser's for. So, I can actually fix that right now. Kind of make it blend in like this. So I want to take it off this corner off the side, but I want it to blend in. So I'm kind of just lightly touching it. Kind of taking some parts off, kind of blending it around, pushing it around a little. Make it look like it's kind of fading in. Nice, okay. Now I'm going to make this a sharp line. And erase that off a bit. Cool, cool. This is looking pretty good. I love how this is turning out so far. Oh, a piece of the gummy came off. There we go. It's fine. Now, we got that settled. Okay, so far, we got the skyline done. Now, this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. So we got the skyline done. I wanted to be able to make it so you could see kind of the pillar in the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lightly touch this one right here. I'm going to lightly put it on my fingers, like this. This is kind of an experiment. I haven't done this before, and I'm just going to lightly touch it. Try and put, yeah, there we go. Kind of put the hint that it's in the background. Just the hint that's coming up. So you can see it way off in the distance. Just kind of running my fingers across this like that. So I can get it on my fingertips. I'm just going to lightly pet it. Just like that. So it creates kind of this weird image in the background. Just barely there. Oh! Jinxty Marie, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying the stream so far. How you doing? How you doing? My poor gummy eraser is already getting a bunch of dark stuff all over it, but this is what's another part. I can also take it apart and use the stuff for the inside. So there's always a way for to be able to use this thing to a certain extent until it gets so bad that you just can't use it anymore. But there we go. Go ahead and just wipe off my hands. Just like that. I still have a bunch on my hands, but it's still a lot better than it was before. I'm also going to probably be adding a little bit more of a mist to this. I kind of like the way how this turned out. This side isn't quite like I wanted it to be, but I'm trying to see if I can fix it. It's a little bit harder, I'm realizing, on a paper bag because it's not like a canvas. It doesn't grab it like a canvas. It kind of just sits there and just pushes it around a bit. But it's all good. So, just wiping that off, make sure I have a clean slate for my fingers. I know it doesn't look clean, but I promise this part isn't going to go anywhere. It's just stained on my fingers now. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and move on to our guy, the Thin Man. So, this is where it's going to get a little bit difficult, and I'm a little bit scared. We're going to use the black, the very deep black. I just ended up making a paper bag with 2 holes in it because I don't have many artistic skills as Story does. Well, I appreciate that. You feel free to do whatever you want as far as that's concerned. That's fine. If you want to just make a paper bag with holes in it, it's all good. If you want to try and copy this on a piece of paper, that's fine too. You can do whatever you like. So, but yep, so I'm going to try and use this thing. I'm so scared because this is already getting all over my hands. This is very, very, very dark. Okay, so here we go. As you can see, I'm a little bit terrified of this. So here we go. We're going to work on the Thin Man. And I'm going to try and do this as lightly as I can because, oh god, this scares the crap out of me. Okay. Very gently. Just so gently. Just barely even using the corner of this thing because the Thin Man is so freaking tiny. I don't have a dark pencil for this. Let's see. So I have one line. See how dark that is compared to the rest of this? You could see that so vividly in the camera. My god. Because I want to have the legs show right here. Jeez. Yeah, exactly what I meant. This is like the pitchest black of charcoal. Like, I swear. This is the thing that I'm so terrified of, but it's so nice looking when it's all done. Okay. This is the kind of stuff that I always try to be careful when I use it because it's so dark. It's so easy to make a mistake with, and I'm leaning over because I don't want to not be able to see what I'm doing. There we go. There's the leg. And I need to... Essentially, it's almost going to be like a stick figure, actually, the hat on it. Essentially, it looks like a hangman when you think about it. Probably why he's so terrifying. He's tall, scary, has a hat. Okay, now I'm getting a little bit brave. Now the hardest part is I'm going to take a blending tool and actually make this blend in a lot better. There's his head. Okay. That's as brave as I'm getting with this thing by itself. I'm going to try and gently dump this out like that and blow on it lightly. That is not how he's going to stay, don't worry. You'll see this thing transform just a second. I just got to get the excess black off my hands. Because, by God, this is where it starts becoming a bit of a challenge. Okay, now I'm going to take my blending tool, my tiniest blending tool that I have. Where are you? I saw you a second ago. There's 3 of you. I got 3 of you. Where'd you go? Where did it go? Okay, I had a third blending tool here somewhere, and it was tiny. That might explain why I lost it. Oh, it's on the floor. Hold on. Okay, I got it. I just want to make sure you guys didn't see me. It blended into the background. Ah, what did? What blended into the background? The floor. Mm-hmm. This is how tiny it is. This is the other smallest one that I have. But this is the tiny, tiny one. This is the one I'm going to be using for this because it's... Whew, oh boy. Okay, so actually this has pink on it. I'm going to go ahead and try and nudge it off. Literally everything ends up on the floor. Yep, it does. Welcome to the artist. the every artist's problem. Everything ends up on the floor sometimes. Okay, so now this is where it's going to get a little tricky. I'm trying to keep my hand up so I'm not touching the background. And I'm just going to lightly push this stuff out here so that this thin man will start taking shape as a shadow. How iconic is that? Nice and easy. Have a ton of focus here. I may have to add more black, which worries me quite a bit. This thins out up here. Like that. Yeah, that's how it's supposed to look. That's his arm coming down. And he has a little neck coming out right here. And then his hat. That is teeny tiny. Yep, it is teeny tiny. It's really, really, really small. Okay, here we go. Make his hat. I gotta make sure I get his head and his hat. Oh yeah, there we go. There we go. His shoulders should be right up here. That's his neck. Oh, that actually looks so good. He even has a little bit of the flex coming off. I did not plan that. That is sick. So there we go. That's pretty thin. I could even make him a little bit thinner. I could even bring him down a little bit more right here. Which I think I will do because he is the thin man. He needs to be thinner. He needs to be tall. And scary and lanky. There we go. Now we're talking. That's the thin man. That's him. There we go. Oh boy. So we have the thin man in the back. Oh boy, that's terrifying actually. I'm already getting goosebumps. So we have the thin man in the back now. And I'm noticing I might have to do a bit more in the background a bit with some of this black. So what I'm going to do, at a very big risk, I'm going to take this black and take this little thing and I'm going to scrape it against it so that it gets on the tip of this. And there we go. This jet black now has that tip all blacked up there. And then I am going to make these little lines that are coming off of here from this to this. Kind of shows how tall he is actually. My god, that's scary. Like that. Ooh, that did not sound good. That scraping sound. Not my favorite. Okay, there we go. That's supposed to be a clothesline. That does not look like a clothesline. So let's grab some more. Like that. And I'm going to go ahead and just do a little hint of a close right here. There we go, and blow that off. A lot of blowing this off. Don't do this or you're 6 feet away from somebody else. Here we go. Okay, that's starting to give it a little bit more height. Because I had to shorten this up quite a bit for this. So there's that. And then, let's see, I need to make another line down a little bit further. So I'm grabbing some more. Just going to bring this up right here. Connecting to there. Kind of like it's supposed to connect to this. Down here in the background. Lots of risks here that I'm taking. but I think it's doing okay. And I'm going to go ahead and... let's see, I'm going to grab some more, I think. This is where I'm going to start actually... no, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be smart. I'm going to go ahead and start on the cement on the bottom. So the cement part is going to be this dark gray. And this is where I'm going to need the push tool for this too as well. Because this is going to be very difficult to do without hitting mono. Just going to go around mono. Because I need my guidelines, dang it. Let's see. You can kind of see the pattern of the paper bag kind of coming through here a bit. Which is kind of cool, I gotta admit. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and blend it with my finger. So I could spread it around and gunk it up a little bit. I'm not going all the way to the ends because I want it to fade in. I had said before that I wanted this to fade in. Now the hardest part is getting around this guy. I'm going to have to get the blendy tool for his feet. I did not plan that part through very well. I might get away with it though. It's okay if we get over mono here, that's fine. Because he is supposed to be in shadow anyway. But he's going to be darker. He's going to be using the same kind of color palette as the Thin Man a bit. With some light tones. Kind of spooky. Kind of looks like the lady's magic is kind of enveloping him a bit, isn't it? Writing our own new story here, folks. Poor mono going up against everybody here. Let's see, I'm going to also try and take off a little bit of this. I feel like I made a little bit too much there. Cloth is also a little bit helpful with this too, kind of peeling some of this off, of still blending it in. Not taking off quite as much off. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we are. And then this here. Kind of going for that. Just nice and easy. Okay, now I need to get the blendy tool again. I'm going to use this one instead. And this one, I'm going to kind of just push around what is already here. Do it nice and carefully. Okay. Now, for the fun part, is going to be add a little bit of blue. Because it is raining a bit. So I'm adding a little bit of blue here. You can get away with this if you don't have blue. You can get away with this by using a different gray color as well. Like a lighter gray. If you're made it gray tones. Okay, there we go. Wipe this off of my pants because my pants are my painting pants. I'm also using my towel that I already have some darkness stuff on, but it's not bad. Okay, now that I have that going, I need to try and see if I could darken that spot in the back more without causing trouble. No trouble. All about the base, you know, because no trouble. Let's see. There we go. Kind of makes sense because it's like the water is kind of all over there. Now, go ahead and blend this in right here. Towards the back. Get as close to the Thin Man as I can. Like so. Like that, and there we go. So we have that. This part, though, doesn't quite separate, does it? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to lighten that up. So we're going to take a little bit of this lighter color and we're going to go ahead and line up this part a bit to show where the edge of the buildings are, because this is where the sidewalk actually meets. So we're going to do that. We're going to lighten it up. And we're going to go back to the blending tool and kind of blend it in like so. So that you have a very fine line there. Just like that. I know this still doesn't look like much, but it'll look better once we get all of the highlights done. You will see. Now it's starting to look like a bit like a sidewalk a bit. Coming out to there. Coming out to here. About that far. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend it again. Going in this direction as well. Kind of give it a little bit of a hint that it's here. This is a very dark scene. It's very, very dark. In more ways than one. It is very dark. Okay, there we go. There we are. Now, as that fades off into the distance, it's going to come into here. Fix that up a bit more. There we go. So now you can kind of see there's the illusion that there's a sidewalk there. There we are. Okay, there we go. All right. So I had the illusion that there's a sidewalk there. Now we need to make the hard line for heading into the street, which is right about here. And then I need to blend that backwards this way. If I blend that towards the sidewalk and blend it in this way, it will create that fine line like so. And there we go. The best part is, since this scene takes place in the rain, it already blends these colors and merges them together already in the scene. So it creates this almost watercolor-esque chalk drawing look already. Just about. So as long as you understand the physics of how the chalk gets moved around, you can actually... So I just realized that this isn't blending the way how it should. This needs to go down further. This needs to actually go down this way. Much further. There we go. That's why they didn't look right. So, we're going to fix that. For the most part, when it comes to chalk, you could always fix your mistakes. Sometimes it's a little bit harder, but for the most part, you could always go back over it and fix it. Unless you're trying to use negative spots, then you got a problem. There we go. Okay, so there we are. So now you can kind of see how that's starting to come together. There's the sidewalk on the sides right there. You have the buildings overhanging over here, the mist in the background coming up, the tower way off in the distance in the back you could barely see. Now we've got that settled. Now it's time to do all of the lines that are going to show that it's like a street or like some kind of sidewalk. It looks like it's some kind of alleyway sidewalk. It doesn't even look like a street. It looks like the floor is kind of almost tiled in a way. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it seem like it's kind of like a side street that has kind of almost like a tile floor. like increments of like cement tiles. So how we're going to do that is it looks like it's actually using darker colors. So I'm going to try and use this color instead. I'm going to go line this super carefully. This isn't the darker one. This is the second darkest one. I'm just going to kind of fade it in this way. And then I'm going to go a little bit further in. Make it finer. And then do the same thing a little bit further in. Finer. Make it smaller. Smaller. And then make it smaller. Until it just kind of disappears. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use the same strategy we had before. Using the blending tool. Blending tool is a key. Blending tool is key. And we're going to use this as a hard line. So we're going to make this a hard line. It's going to blend out this way. Best part is once you learn the way how things blend, you can actually attribute this to computer as well. It works very much the same way. As far as like the physics of it goes. You blend it one direction, it'll push. It's all about pushing it in a certain place to make it do something that it doesn't want to do. Okay, so there we go. Kind of gives it those lines. It looks grungy like it's supposed to. I'm loving it. Okay, so now here's the fun part. We get to add in more light to certain parts of it. I'm thinking I need to add a light above this to show that it is kind of a, add a lighter tone to the top to show that this is a part of the street lip. Not a street lip, but a, the tile lip is up higher. So we're going back over the top of this a bit, on top of it. Did a lighter piece. Okay, and this is going to use a similar one of these as well again. We're going to go ahead and just kind of push the blending tool around a little bit more. Make it kind of cast up a bit. Kind of like that. So it's going to show up a bit. Like so. Then go up. Just a little bit, just pushing it upwards. And there we are. So far so good. And now the other tricky part. Taking a slightly darker color than the sidewalk and trying to make it seem like the sidewalk has a lip. So what you do there is you have to take a corner of this and you got to go up just a ½ centimeter up. Nothing too high. Just go up just a bit. So it looks like, problem is I don't have a tight corner right here. So that it looks like it has a lip. And you're going to keep going out this way. Usually what you would do is you would spray each of these increments so that way they stay easier. But I did not do that because I am very impatient. So we're just going to do it this way and hope for the best. So now I'm going to go ahead and blend this out like so. Like that. So once you blend this out that way, blend this out that way again, kind of give it the illusion that there's a step there, and then bring it down a little bit, round it out, bring it down a little, and there we go. So far so good. That background is looking absolutely fantastic. We are actually going to probably get this done tonight easily. So Mono's going to be the fun part. Because Mono is in darkness, but he also has some light around him. And we are going to lighten some things up once we get a little bit further. The Thin Man, unfortunately, is in total darkness, so it makes it a little bit harder. But Mono over here is in light. He seems like he has a spotlight on him, actually. So he's going to have some light around him, which is similar to the light fog that we have behind the Thin Man up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add some of that fog. Kind of coming in like this. like I said before, normally you would just actually, try and make this, spray it down first and then blend it, but like I said before, I am very much impatient with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and just do this. And I am going to go over things with the white pencil, don't worry. So that gave it a little bit more fog, but I'm going to go over this a little bit more. Try and give it more of a foggy appearance. A little bit. Kind of like it's covering this line. Like it's seeping in from behind him. I'm going to add some more in here too as well. Some more fog off the corners. Like that. And then blend it with my finger. Kind of make it look like it's kind of just fogging up. Like that. And there we are. That's looking actually pretty cool. So, got the little fog rolling in. Now all we have left to do is add mono in. And then we'll get to put this thing back together. After I spray it down. Which I will do. Take it out of the room. Spray it down. Let it dry for about 10 minutes. Come talk to you guys for a minute. Come back. And then we will try to put this thing together. So, I'll also wash my hands as well after that. So, now to deal with mono. So mono is going to be difficult only because his image in this picture is pitch black. It is pitch black, but he has white highlights. So what I'm going to do is I am going to use this thing, this scary tool that I have, and I am going to try my best to do this without messing up. This takes a lot of precision, a lot of concentration. So I'm going to try and see if I can actually be smart about this for once. I'm going to use this thing. And I'm going to try and sharpen a side. Look at how pitch black that is, by God. So, here, this tool is what I'm using. And look how pitch black that is. So I'm doing this off to the side a little bit, so I don't get it on the art itself, but I want to get a sharp edge. So I'm trying to scrape this to get a sharp edge out of it. Ooh, do not. I just dropped a piece on there. Be careful of that. Okay, so I got a sharp edge out. Okay, here we go. Oh boy, I'm scared. Okay, so here we go. Let's see. I need to do a leg here. Alright, come on, Mono. Come on, buddy. Don't let me down. I'm gonna flip this over to this side. Thin Man was a lot easier because he was a lot further away. Okay. I think there's something underneath this that's catching on. Yep. I just noticed this kind of almost looks like a skull already. There's a nose right here and the two eyes. There we go, blending this here. Bring this hand out here. This arm. Coming right here. Such an iconic scene. Okay, and then his bag. Just going to take over this spot right here. And there we go. Whew, that actually turned out not too bad. I was getting really scared there for a minute. Okay, so there's Mono's base form. Now we need to push it around with the stick again. Which I am still a bit terrified of. This will be fine. I am so covered in a bunch of stuff right now, which is fine. Okay, so now we're going to push this around to give him form. There we go. Give him a solid form here. Alright, Mono. Almost looks like a shadow form, almost. Which is not my intention, but it's cool. I like happy little accidents sometimes. Or in this case, nightmarish little accidents. Just blowing on it gently to make sure that it doesn't blur. I do still have to add the smudges as well at the top that Mono has, but I'll be using that as a picture. Taking another looking at the other picture once I do that. I am also going to be blacking out the inside of this, so that way it looks like the eyes are more black. Okay, there we go. His form is shown a little bit better now. Now I'm going to use this to try to get the hand out of it, because he has a long sleeve that kind of covers most of his hand. But I want to be able to see his fingers coming out of this. The finer details. I'm going to need more of this. There we go. Let's try it again. There we go. Kind of see his hand a little bit there. There we go. And there we are. As you can see, I kind of lifted a little bit of the up a bit. I didn't mean to, but that's what happens when your hand rests on it a bit too long. You start lifting up the charcoal, which is not great. But what I can do about that is I can fill it in with this light stuff here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I just gotta be careful. Okay. Now, I'll try blending it in nice and easy without hitting the smudge. Smudge it around without hitting Mono. Doing pretty good, actually. I was not expecting myself to have that much skill with that. And there we go. So far, so good. Need to add in a tiny bit more dark to this. And the reason why I keep turning these around is because I'm trying very, very hard not to accidentally smudge it with too much. This is looking great. Thank you, Savvy. I love how this is looking so far. Even in the actual picture from the even on the recording so far, it's looking fantastic. I love how it's looking so far. I'm excited. Okay, so we got that. Now is the fun part. I keep saying that, but now is the real fun part. The white pencil. So, now for the pencil. So the highlight pencil is what we're going to be using to lighten up certain parts. Like, for example, right here. This is where we are putting in the light of Mono's bag right here. So we can see it better. His sleeve. The top part of this sleeve right here. His hand. This is going to help make things pop out so much better. Especially in Mono's case. Because Mono is technically in like a spotlight. So some of him is definitely going to show a bit more in this. Kind of like that. A little bit. Yeah, like that. And then you have this here on top of his shoes. Kind of like that. So it lightens it up just a little bit. Now the important part is that the Thin Man stays in the dark. So I'm not going to lighten up the Thin Man, even though I want to so bad, because it's the thing that my brain wants me to do. I'm not going to do it. So it's the thing my brain wants, but it's not going to happen. So I think I'm just going to lighten up Mono, and that's it. So Mono's going to have a little bit of a highlight going on, which is fine. There we go, with a little bit of the charcoal pen. So, and this looks so good so far. He looks good. And there we go, there's Mono. Right there. And then, I'm going to also add, I feel like I want to add more highlights to the buildings, but I'm kind of scared too. Mainly because I could add highlight to the buildings like this to make them kind of pop out more. Kind of like that. I think I am going to do that actually. That's going to bring them out much better. At least right here. To kind of give a sense of weight to it. Like this is what the world looks like now. And it just kind of starts disappearing in there. That's a bit better actually. I kind of like that. So there we go. We have that going on, and then we have light probably reflecting off of this a bit. Kind of bring that out. There we go. That's actually looking pretty dang good so far, I think. Mono! Yep, we got Mono. So now, well, we got the character Mono. Gotta be careful when we say things like that. So, let's see. I like the way how this looks, actually, already. I don't want to change it. I think this is perfect. I personally feel like we did it. I think we did it. Now I just wiped my face and I got charcoal all over my face. Of course I did. Because that's what happens when you work with this medium. So we're not done yet. But what I am going to do is I am going to take this out, spray it really quick, come back, talk to you guys for a minute, and wash my hands. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to spray it, but I am going to show you how this works. So if you have a matte finish spray, or if you have a hairspray, a can of hairspray, what you're going to do, I'm going to move this out of the way. What you're going to do is you're going to shake it up really good, so you hear that ball noise in there, and then you're going to pop the lid, like so. Make sure you spray it away from you. If you're using the matte finish specifically, cover your mouth and your face. Spray it away from you. And you're going to go sweep nice and gently back and forth like this when you spray it. And then you're going to do the same thing up and down like this. And that's how you do it. So you got to make sure to do it very carefully and do it about this far away. Hold on. Do about this far away. You do not want to do it too close. So you'll be doing it way up here. And you're going to be spraying it like this, back and forth. And you're going to be spraying it up and down. Like this, to make sure you cover it all, so that way none of it smears or smudges. So that's what you're going to do. I'm going to take this outside and do that now, because my room is not ventilated. So, but I wanted to show you guys that's the motion you want to do. And I will be right back. So, that's one thing I unfortunately won't be able to show anybody, but that's basically how you do it. So, I'll be back really quick. So, looks like there's no change, obviously, but I did spray it down, and I did bring it back in. It's a little bit wet, but it's not soaked. So, I'm letting it dry in here because it's a little bit chilly outside, so I don't want it to wrinkle. So, it is going to take a second to dry, but I will let it dry in here. Also, I did wash my hands, so as you can see, they're sort of okay. They're a little bit dark in some places. Like the tips of my fingers right here, near my nails, those are still dark. So, while Staff does that, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at this and see what I can do as far as folding it up without messing up this beautiful thing that I made to the front. So there's this. It's going to try and glue that together in the bottom there, which I do need to actually heat up the glue gun for this. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Turn on the glue gun. Glue gun is now on. It's going to be hot. Very hot. So there's that. And then this is going to go like this. And then the top part of it's going to be the fun part, because that is actually going to have to fold in on itself somehow. once I do that, I'm gonna have to glue this part in the back where it was. Kind of like that. And then I'm going to fold in the pieces at the top. The way how it should be folded like it is with mono. So that's going to be fun. But yeah, so we're going to have to work with that. It's going to look so good when it's all done. I'm excited. So, now gluing these together is going to be difficult. Because I do not want to destroy this thing on the front. But it's not quite dry yet. So I got to be careful of that. So I'm going to try and do this carefully. Maybe I should use the glue stick. I'm going to try using the glue stick. So I got the glue stick. We'll try the glue stick first. I'm still going to let that thing heat up, just in case I need it. Because I might need it for the top instead. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this together. So I'm going to use this side right here for this part. I'm going to go ahead and grab this glue. I'm going to run it right along here. It should dry clear, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to run it right along this area. Try using this glue stick, see if it sticks together better. Hopefully it will. See, it's already starting to fade out. It's drying faster than I thought. Oh dear. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it on, like so. Kind of pulling it away from the camera. I apologize. I realize that now. Let's see. So grab this. Glue it. Yeah, it's not holding together. At least not with this glue stick. At least not with my bag. My bag's not holding it together well. Because there's already glue on here. Yeah, nah. That's not working. Okay. It was tried for a second, but it didn't quite stick. So we're going to try using the glue gun. Like I planned originally. And I'm going to go ahead and put this stuff away a little bit. At least these things. So that I can do that really fast, because I no longer need this. Let's see here. I'm going to put these away where they go, in the right spots. They served us well today. Let's see here. Back in there. This back in here. This is the darker one that needs to go back in the darker abyss. You go right here. There's one more missing. Where is it? Right there. Oh, it's the lighter one. Shoot. Okay. So you go here. So glad that I found these. I had these stashed away somewhere, and I didn't think I was going to be able to find them for this, but I did. And ended up using quite a bit of them. You're back. Welcome back. I'm just putting away some stuff, because I realized that I need to use the glue gun for what I have, because my glue stick didn't work. Apparently my glue stick's a little bit too dry. So, might work for your guys' glue sticks, not for mine. So, that's going to be something I got to remember. Replace my glue sticks, because apparently they have an expiration date. Did not know that. So, here we go. I have a ton of glue sticks that probably are bad now. Good to know. So, here we go. Put this away. That's all solved. The kitten is with you now. Aww, how cute. Little baby kitty. Don't know if the kitty can hear me, but cute. So cute. Love baby kitties. Okay. Let's see. So now, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can glue this now. My glue stick, my glue gun is kind of sort of not quite hot enough yet, it looks like. Just thinking about it. Oh, nope, there it goes. Okay. This might actually work. Ooh, that is hot. Okay. Yeah, never mind. It's hot enough. Okay, so this is going to be fun. Because I got to try and do this without messing up the picture on the front. So I'm going to try flip this over nice and easy. Okay. And I'm going to try matching the bottom of this. Like that. Do this little bit increments at a time. Come on, you can do it. Spread that up. Spread that up. Nice and easy. Oh, shoot. Now it's not. Ah, crud. I ran out of glue. I have more. I just ran out of that one. just now. Great. Okay. So I gotta be careful doing this. I could actually burn myself. Gotta be careful. And there we go. I successfully did not burn myself. Woohoo! But I do have to go get some more glue. So I'll be right back really quick. I gotta grab glue. But I did. His mom just took him away from me. Oh! She's like, no, that's mine. You can't have that. Sorry. She's like, give that back to me. She's like, that's my baby. That's funny. Welcome back. Thank you. Yeah, I had to get myself another glue gun. Not glue gun, but another bit of glue. So I had this long stick of glue here. This long stick. So I had to go get myself some more glue because I ran out. So that didn't take me long though. Okay, so now I'm trying to glue this together without messing up the front. So I gotta do this carefully without burning myself too at the same time. So this is where it stopped gluing. So I'm gonna try. Okay, here we go. Gotta try doing it this way so you guys can see it and so that I can still glue it. See, there we go. Much better. Because the problem is that it wasn't able to push all the way through because it ended up the trigger ended up not being able to go all the way through. This is the back anyway, so I'm not too concerned with how it looks. And I'm going to slip that back there on the charger. I'm going to grab this. Now, putting this together is going to be difficult. I usually have a special thing to be able to push this together. I did not grab that this time. Ooh, that's hot. It is very, very hot. I do not recommend doing this with your bare hands when you do this. I recommend taking a stick and pushing it in. Do not do this with your bare hands if you're at home. I have a lot of experience with burning my hands. So I'm used to this. Okay, here we go. And we have that part of the bag done. This still looks fine on the front. Good. Nothing got messed up. Don't burn yourself. I'm okay. That's good. Yeah, it's pretty long. For sure. It's a long, long piece there. I'm going to turn this thing off for now so it doesn't melt. And now is the time for the other tricky part, folding the top of this thing. So this is not the same fold as it was before because I cut off the top of that, if you remember correctly. So it's going to be a little bit different. So now it's kind of like folding a present. You fold in the inside like this. Like so. We're going to have to make this go all the way down further. About here. Because I think... Actually, I might have to cut off more. Because technically Mono's thing doesn't go that far. So I'm going to have to cut off the top of this a little bit further than I thought I was going to have to. So I'm going to cut off the top of this more. About here. I'm going to be a little bit conservative and cut it about here. There we are. Okay. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and try folding in this area again. Like this. I'm trying to show you guys what I'm doing. My hands are out of the way. There we go. Fold this in like that. Do this super carefully. Kind of like wrapping a present over an invisible box. Like that. I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Like so. Nice and easy. And then fold it in. Nice and easy. I'm trying to be very careful not to touch the front of this thing, because it's still very much not dry. And I really don't want to mess up my hour-long work that I just did. So we'll go ahead and do that. There we go. Okay. So, absolutely that graphic present. Exactly. So, and you're going to fold this in like that. At least it's in the back so we don't have to worry too much. Just like that. And then the top part is going to fold backwards. Like this. Just like that. And it's going to be in the middle. Like that. So, now here's where the tricky part comes in. I have to glue this together. Which means I'm going to have to do it this way. So, the reason why this is tricky is because I have to stand up for this so I can see what I'm doing. Whoops, it fell over. So, I do this. And now, take the glue gun. This is why I love the wireless glue gun. Make sure I can... It's probably not hot enough. Hold on. It's not hot enough. Turn it back on for a second. Okay, so as you can see here, this is not put together either. So I may have to fix that spot too. It's a little bit ripped up in the back, so I may have to put like something back there, which I do have some extra stuff here, luckily, that I can easily glue to the back to make it stronger. So I could do that just right now if I want to. So I'm going to go ahead and take this piece off, size it up, make sure it's the right size. Basically, I'm just rebuilding this darn thing from the ground up. Patch this part here. That's where it's going to patch up, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece right there. There we go. Okay, now I just got to wait for this thing to heat up enough for it to work. That's going to take a second. This is looking pretty good so far. There's the front of it. It looks so good. I'm excited for this thing. I can't wait till I'm done with this. It's going to look so good. Okay, so then we have his bag. Once it's all heated up and working, let's see what we got. Is it working now? That's good enough. Okay, so here we go. It's stringing. It's causing a string to happen. Okay, here we go. Now this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. Because like I said before, I'm going to have to glue certain points and then I'm going to fold it up. So, let's see. I got to glue. Which way should I do this? I should do it probably this way. Bringing out the glue gun again, guys. Oh no. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and glue from here to here. I'm going to glue from here to here. And then from here to here. And I'm going to try pushing this in as carefully as I can. That's meeting in the middle. Oh, that's hot again. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And push down. Nice and easy. Ooh, yeah, still hot. Not burning, but it's very warm. Okay, there we go. And ta-da! That top part's fixed. So far it looks good. Bottom part of it's a little bit lopsided, but that's okay. Okay, now I gotta fix the inside of this because it is a little bit messed up. Just a tiny bit. Not bad, but it just needs a little tiny bit of TLC. Just needs like something to stick in here. So I'm gonna stick this right here. Go all the way down this. See if I can stick this a little bit further in. I can. Okay, now that should be enough. I'm gonna go ahead and place this in. Should be enough to stick this in. Make this a bit stronger. Then I need to put the other side as well, because it's not gonna stick together if I don't do that. So right now, it's the concern is the bottom of that. It's not sticking very well. And there we go. Then all I have to do is just cut that piece off. And that should do just fine. Alright, there we are. That's going to dry nicely. Oh no, I got glue string on the front of it. There we go. And then there we are. We have our mono bag with the design on it. And it's upside down. I'm facing it towards you. There we go. There it is. It turned out so good. Look at that. I could still make the inside of this black if I wanted to. But I think I'll like it this way. It looks awesome. Thank you. I love how it turned out. And it's small enough to fit on my shelf. So I'll be putting it on my display shelf. So I could take a look at it and see it. I'm going to be showing some people around my house what it looks like. So they were dying to see this too. But yep, I'm so excited about how this turned out. Turned out so good. I'll be taking some pictures of it so you guys can see it. Standing up in all its glory. But yep, and that's how you make the mono bag with the chalk drawing picture on it. So I did upside down again. And there we are. It looks so good. So, yep, we did it. It's all done now. I might do another layer of matte spray on it, just in case. But it turned out so good. I love how it looks. I'm gonna have to try and see if I could get my signature on here, which I will probably put somewhere on it. Or on the inside of the bag. I might put it on the inside of the bag. But, yep, it turned out so good. I love it. So, I think that's where I'm going to end up calling it for today. Alright, so thank you guys so much for watching, and anyway, so I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye, good night.